What's going on, guys? Today got another video for you. This one's actually gonna be a little different. This one's gonna be on 3 knives instead of just one. None of these are really expensive knives, so I just figured I would kind of group all of them into the same video because they're all cheap and they're all from the same manufacturer. So what we have, and guys, I'll admit, I normally don't read notes. I'm reading notes today off a sheet. There's just too many different specs for all these knives to just remember off the top of my head, so I will be using my cheat sheet today. And today's video is sponsored by Red Bull. Not really. I wish it was, but it's not. I've just had really bad dry mouth, so gotta have a drink with me for this one. So the 3 different knives we have, these are all Ganzo knives. I'm assuming most of you knife guys have heard or seen Ganzo knives before. Lots of other YouTubers have talked about them. And so I finally decided to get some. I've had these for a little while now, enough to kind of get an idea of them. At least enough of an idea of them that I think I can make a decent video on them. These are ones I was looking for specifically. A lot of Ganzo's knives are just generic sort of designs. These 3 are actually not generic designs. I don't want to call these clones because they're not clones. They're not trying to fool someone into thinking they're a different brand or something like that. But all 3 of these are modeled after other fairly well-known knives. And there was one knife in particular. This one was the reason I got these. I'll get into that later on. But let me get into the knives first. The one in the middle here, this is the Ganzo F720. You can see it on the blade right there. FB knife made by Ganzo F720. This one, as many of you could probably tell, is modeled after the line steel SR2. Pretty much same dimensions all the way around as the actual line steel. Pull up another one. This one is the Ganzo F710. So F720, F710. As you can see on this one as well. Firebird knife made by Ganzo F710. And then this one, as you can see on this side, says Ganzo. Then on this side, if I can get it to focus, G745, 440C. Okay, now just a few general things before I really get into each knife. And I'm going to try to make this video short because I know these are cheap knives. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about them. Some things that all these knives have in common. All of these have the axis lock. Any of you who have a Benchmade know the axis lock is their go-to. That's what all these Ganzo knives have. I think Ganzo may call them something different, but it's an axis lock for all intents and purposes. It operates the exact same way. So they all have axis locks, even though the originals, what these knives are based off of, didn't necessarily have axis locks. This one did, and this one did. The line steel, the actual line steel SR2 obviously does not have an axis lock. This knife, the 745, is based off of a Benchmade knife, so it originally had an axis lock. This one is also based, this one, the F710, is also based off of a Benchmade knife, so it also had an axis lock, but the line steel originally does not have an axis lock. General overview, some similarities between all of them, that way I don't have to mention it for every one of them. All these knives are G10 handles, real G10. They're all textured differently, but they're all G10. All these knives are stainless liner locks, and they're all fairly beefy stainless liner locks. Pocket clip, they are all tip up right and left hand compatible, all 3 of these. So tip up only, right hand or left hand. They're all reversible. They all have a lanyard hole, which I don't care anything about, but they all have them if you do like them. And they're all using 440C stainless. Not the best thing in the world, obviously, but at the price point of these knives, it's kind of hard to complain. And honestly, I don't mind 440. It's 440C. All of them are 440C. You can see right there, 440C. Same for all of them. And I think Ganzo actually does a pretty good job with their 440C. Out of all three of these, the only one I've used extensively is this one, and there's a reason for that, which I'll get into. But it seems to hold up pretty good. Obviously, it's not going to hold an edge anything like S30 or S35 or M390 or anything like that. But for 440C, it's actually pretty good. I can't really complain about it, especially for the price point. But all three of them use 440C. Like I said, G10, 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 they all have stainless liners, they all have axis locks, and they all have the same carry positions. Guess I'll start on the left. This one, which is the Ganzo 710. You can see that blade style, and for that matter, the handle, the way the G10 is sculpted on the handle. This one is modeled after the Benchmade 950 Rift. A bunch of people told me I should look at this one because it's like a large Benchmade 940, and that is essentially what the 950 Rift is. It's got a 3.5-inch blade. It's got the same type of carry profile as the 940, because I know a lot of people are familiar with the 940. It's just bigger in every dimension than the 940. It's longer, it's thicker, it's heavier, longer blade. It's just bigger in every way than the 940. It's basically the exact same as the 950. The 950 Rift and this knife have basically the same overall specs as far as size and length and weight and all that go. This knife's going to be a little bit heavier, but overall they're pretty much the same. As I said, this one is based off of the line steel SR2. I've never had a line steel SR2. That's kind of the reason I got this. The line steel wasn't a knife that I was really interested in enough to pay what they cost, so I just got this instead. I'd always wanted to kind of try one out, but I didn't really want to spend $200 on one, on the off chance I didn't like it. And so I got this one. But that one's based completely off the line steel SR2, and the overall size on this one is comparable to the line steel. This one may be a little less well known. This was, as many of you know, H&K knives, Heckler & Koch branded knives. I know a bunch of them now are being made by Hogue, but Benchmade used to make a lot of their knives, and this was actually based off of one of the H&K / Benchmade collaborations. I don't remember if the knife actually had a name, but I know the product number, it was H&K 14715. That's what this knife was based off of. And I remember when that knife came out, I really wanted to get one. I think that came out on drop, or well, I guess it was still mass drop at that point. I think it came out on mass drop, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. It's been years since it came out, but I remember when it did come out. I'm messing up. I remember when it did come out, I really wanted to get one, and I just never did. And now they've almost gotten to be kind of collectible. You can still find them from time to time, like on eBay and stuff. But I won't say when this knife first came out, the H&K version, what this knife is based off of, I wanted to say it wasn't like $100 to $150 or something like that. And I should have got one then, but I didn't. Now, if you can find them, they're pushing $300. And I just wasn't willing to spend that for that knife. But that's what this knife is based off of. And that's the reason I got these, was because I always really wanted one of those knives, but I never got one, wasn't willing to pay that for one now, assuming you can find one. So I got this knife. Again, it's pretty much exactly the same as the H&K, overall dimension, size, weight, blade length, all that. It's just a lot cheaper. And that's what I wanted to lead into. Any of you who have looked at Ganzo knives before will probably know this. They are very cheap. and I don't want to say cheap in a bad way. Hold on, I gotta get a drink. I don't want to say cheap in a bad way. They're not cheaply made. They're actually very well made knives, but they're just cheap. Price-wise, they're cheap. I'm not sure what they're going for now. I didn't look, but I actually pulled up my confirmation email from when I ordered these knives here a while back. And when I ordered these knives, I ordered all three of these knives at the same time. I ordered them from Power Cutlery. Amazon's kind of my go-to for cheap knives, but Amazon didn't have all three of these knives in stock, and I know I wanted to get all three of these. The only website I could find them that had all three in stock, that way I didn't have to make separate orders, was Power Cutlery, so that's where I went with them. This one, the Ganzo 710, based off the Benchmade Rift, was $19.95. This one, the Ganzo F720, based off the Line Steel SR2, was $16.62. And this one, the Ganzo 745, based off the H&K, was $19.95. I'm sorry, I was getting mixed up looking at my notes. $19.95. Total for all three of these knives, shipped, taxes, shipped, everything, I paid $57.89. And I think that's the appeal to these knives. You're getting a lot of knife for your money. They're just really hard to beat. Now, they're not custom knives. They're not real high-end production knives. They don't have the best materials. But just as a good work beater knife that you do not have to worry about, it's hard to beat some of these. I mean, $20. $20 is the most expensive one of these. I mean, $20. I mean, $17 and $16. I mean, if you lose it, if you break it, if you're prying with it and you bust the tip off of it, who cares? Get another one. You know, that's the appeal of these knives. You're getting the feel in hand of a knife that costs much, much more at a fraction of the price. And I think that's really the draw to these knives, is you're getting so much knife for your money, in my opinion anyway. All three of these knives you can get in different colors. I just went with black and stainless on all of them. I know the Line Steel comes with a green G10 handle and an orange G10 handle available. There may be more, don't quote me. This one, the H&K based Ganzo, comes in a black G10, an orange G10. There may be a few others, and I'm not sure about this one entirely. There may be other color options available for it. I'm not 100% sure. But there are some variations, and they do have some coated blades too. I know this one, the H&K based Ganzo, it does have a black coated blade option available. When I ordered these, Power Cutler did not have that one in stock, so I didn't get it. Otherwise I probably would have. But there are coated blade options available if you're interested in that. I'm gonna try to fly through these specs because they're all pretty similar. All three knives, the F720 is 8.27 inches overall length open. The Line Steel is 8.3 inches overall length open. And the 745 is also 8.3 inches overall open. Blade length is similar on all three of them. I'm going to put these in order of my notes, just so I don't get as confused. 720. There we go. Do a little shuffle here. Blade length on this one is 3.54 inches, 3.58 inches, and 3.54 inches. They're all very similar. This one, the Line Steel based one, it says it's a satin finish, and it is a satin. It's kind of a brush satin finish. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but it's almost like Ganzo does some type of laminated coating on their 440C, and it's very shiny. I can see through the finish that it is kind of a brushed satin finish, but I know the camera won't pick it up. But there's almost a, if you can see it, like a ripple effect running long ways across the blade. It's almost like it's a laminated blade. I'm not 100% sure, but they say satin finish on this one. The H&K is a stone wash finish, and it is actually a very nice stone wash. It looks pretty good. It doesn't show any wear. And then this one is also a satin finish, as you can see, but this one has the same deal the line still does. It's not as pronounced on this one, but this one also looks like it has some type of laminating on the blade. I don't mind it. It's just something I noticed after I got the knives. All three have 440C. The handle length on this one is 4.72 inches, 4.72 inches, so identical, and then 4.52 inches, if I can speak tonight. This one is a heavy boy. This one right here is 7.72 ounces. It is very heavy, but it has a very thick blade stock. I haven't measured it. I was lazy for this video, but it is very thick. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Just for comparison's sake, because I already have it sitting right here, I'll pull out my Spyderco PM2. I don't know how well the camera will pick that up. It's slightly thicker than the PM2 at the widest part of the blade, but it runs the full thickness of the blade runs all the way to right here. So it's a thick blade all the way down. It has a very thick tip, strong tip. I don't see anyone breaking that tip. Put my PM2 up before I cut myself. But anyway, 7.72 ounces. It's a chunky boy. And to be honest, I haven't carried this one a whole lot. This one, the H&K based one, it is 4.75 ounces overall, so a little under 5 ounces. It's good. It honestly doesn't feel that heavy to me, and this is a very sturdy, robust knife, especially for 4 3/4 ounces. I think it's pretty good weight. And then the last one, the one based off the Rift, it is 5 ounces. So just a little bit heavier than the other one. 5 ounces overall, again, not a bad weight. Those are specs out of the way. These two are basically identical in every aspect. This one's identical almost in overall size as compared to the other two. It's just a lot heavier because it's a lot thicker of a knife. But I said in the intro of the video, this is the reason I kind of got these, because I always wanted the knife this one was based off of, but I was not willing to pay that premium for it. Honestly, I haven't carried these two a whole lot. This one, again, the reason I got this, I've always kind of wanted to check out getting a line steel, but didn't want to pay the premium for it because I didn't know how much I like it. I'm honestly not crazy about this knife. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine as it is. All three of these knives from the factory, they were sharp, but they weren't just like blisteringly sharp, so I did resharpen all of these, and they did take a wicked edge. 440C, if you've never sharpened it before, it doesn't hold an edge very long, especially with hard use, but it can get razor sharp, and all these took a really good edge, and they've all held a really good edge since I've used them. Again, I haven't used this one or this one a whole lot. I've mainly used this one. This one, the line steel, it's just, I wasn't crazy about it. It's just, I don't want to say plain. It's a good looking knife. I like the lines on it. It's just, I wasn't crazy about it. Again, not one thing in particular. It's a little big. I mean, it's pushing 8 ounces in a knife that's only got a 3.5 inch blade. If any of y'all watched my previous video, I did a review of the Cold Steel 4MAX Scout. It's 10 ounces. It's a lot more knife than this is. Longer handle, longer blade, thicker blade, better steel. If I'm gonna carry something heavy, I would rather carry that than this. This knife, the one based off the Benchmade Rift, and I've never had a Benchmade Rift. I've had a 940, but I've never had the Rift. So if you have had one, maybe you can comment on this. I like the lines on this knife. Like I said, it's the exact same as the 950. But this, if you can see it, this texturing on the handle this milling pattern. I don't know if I'll be able to show it good. Can you see the edges on the bottom right there? Because it's in contrast better. The edges on this knife are sharp. Now, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. The edges are chamfered in. I mean, they're not flush with the scale. They are chamfered slightly. But these things are, they're not comfortable to use for an extended period of time. Where the ridges are right there, where the milling is, it does get kind of rough on your hands. Now, I know somebody, oh, you need some calluses. Well, I've got calluses, but it's just, with all the options of knives we have available to us today, there's no reason to really compromise on any one thing. That's the reason I've carried this knife the least out of any of them. I'm just not crazy about it because of those handles. Now, $20 knife, if I wanted to, I could get some sandpaper and just sand those down. But obviously, I've got enough knives. I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to get rid of this knife. I mean, I paid $20 to $15, $16 for it, something like that. I wouldn't get anything for this knife if I did try to sell it, so I might as well just keep it. I just won't use it. It'll just be another knife in the case. That's the reason I haven't carried that one a whole lot. This knife, on the other hand, I have carried this knife extensively, and this has really become one of my go-to knives. It's comfortable in the hand. The ergos are good. The jimping is decent. The jimping on the blade is kind of dull. It doesn't really do anything. But the jimping on the top of the handle right here is actually fairly sharp, and your thumb can bite into it. It's got decent jimping. It's got good deployment. The ergos are good overall. I have beat on this knife. I've pried with the tip. You have a little bit of a flare. I don't know, can't keep it in frame. You have a little bit of flare out towards the tip right here. It is a decent strength tip. It's not as strong as this one by any means, but I do think you have more tip strength in this than something like Spyderco PM2 or something like that. The pocket clip is not a deep carry clip. It's the same clip that the HK this knife was designed after has. That's never really a problem. I know everybody puts a deep carry clip on everything that they carry, but honestly, in my opinion, if it's got one, that's fine. I don't mind the deep carry clip, but the more knife I have sticking out of my pocket, the less I have to reach into my pocket to get my knife. So that's never really bothered me. Now, obviously, for going somewhere where, for whatever reason, you should not carry a knife, yeah, concealability may be more of a big issue to you. It's really not to me. If somebody sees I have a knife out of my pocket, I live in Alabama. Everybody carries a knife. Everybody's got a knife. It's not a big thing. It's just another day. I don't really think twice about it. But this knife just carries really good. It's really good. It's really comfortable in hand. Like I said, 440C, it's actually held up really good. I've had to sharpen this knife 2 or 3 times since I've got it from use. And like I said, 440C, it takes a really good edge. It doesn't hold an edge very well. If I'm breaking out a lot of boxes or something, it will dull the edge pretty quickly. But the good thing about 440C, it's really soft and it's really fast to sharpen. I haven't had to bring this knife back from like a destroyed edge. Most of the time, I'll just start with a 800 grit stone and kind of work up to a polishing stone and then leather strop. And that's normally all I do. The other thing about this knife, again, all 3 of these knives have H&K or Benchmade style axis locks. This one was the best by far. And of course, I've used this one the most, so it has smoothed out the most between all 3 of these, but even out of the box, this was the best one. And the action on this knife, like I said, this is the Ganzo 745. It is just as smooth as any Benchmade that I've ever had as far as the axis lock on this knife. I know I don't do it justice on camera. It's just hard because of where my camera is. But you can use the axis lock to flick the knife open, flick it closed. Again, I'm not doing it justice. You'll just have to take my word for it. Normally, I don't have an issue with it. You can just use the axis lock to open it. You can use the thumb stud to open it, close it, open it, close it. No issue at all. This one is smooth. All 3 of these knives are smooth. This one's just a little stiffer. As you can see, that one didn't swing in all the way on me. This one's all right, mediocre. This one, I don't really want to mess with this knife because I don't carry it a whole lot. I may have to tune this knife a little bit. I don't know if it's just because it's got such a large blade that it's got a different spring in the axis lock than the other ones. But this knife, it is stiff. That axis lock it's hard to pull back. I can't just hold my hand against the back of the blade and pull it back. I actually have to brace the butt of the knife in my palm and pull against it to get enough leverage to open the blade. And as you can see, it'll swing freely once it's pulled back. But this spring and this axis lock on the line steel-ish one, really, really hard. This one, the 745, it's just butter. It's great. Like I said, it's just as good as any Benchmade I've ever had. So no complaints on it. Overall, would I recommend these knives? Yeah. If you're just looking for a good kind of beater, go anywhere, do anything knife that you really don't have to worry about, I would recommend picking one up. And for the price, like I said, all these knives are sub 20. I got all three of these knives for $57, including shipping. So if you buy one and you're not crazy about it, you're not out a whole lot of money. Would I rather spend $18 on this knife or spend $300 on the real one from H&K? I'd rather spend $800 on this knife because honestly, in my use of this knife specifically, not sure about these because again, I haven't carried these a whole lot, but on this knife specifically, this knife does everything that the H&K would, in my opinion. Like I said, I've never had that H&K, but I've had plenty of Benchmades, and this knife is honestly just as good as most of the Benchmades I've had. Obviously, you have the shortcomings of 440C, but if you can get over that, if you don't mind touching your knives up, once a week or something like that, I'll take this. I mean, this has been a great knife. I'm going to try to wrap it up. I said this was going to be a short video, but it just got long because I was talking about three separate knives. And I'm sorry I keep shaking the camera. That's my fault. I keep bumping the tripod with my knee. Again, I got all three of these on Power Cutlery. They may still have these in stock. They may not. Again, told you, the pricing for all these, I paid $57.89 shipped for all three of these knives, so you can't really complain on the pricing. I would recommend you pick one up. Not necessarily this one. This is my favorite by far of the group. It had the best action. It's the most comfortable to carry. I think it's the best all-arounder of the group. And for all those of you who are wondering, that symbol right there, that is Ganzo. It's Ganzo/Firebird knives. That is their logo right there, in case anyone was wondering. I was going to get the boxes out for these, as I tend to try to do for these videos, but I couldn't find them. I'm normally pretty good about keeping my knife boxes available. Couldn't find the ones for these. But going to try to wrap this video up real quick. I'll give you some size comparisons. It's going to be hard trying to fit all these in frame. As you can see, all three of these knives are roughly the same overall length. Up top, I'll throw in the Spyderco PM2, which is again almost identical overall length. So if you have a PM2, which most knife guys have had one or do have one, or at least handled one, it's about the same overall length as all three of these. So all four of these knives you see, the PM2, they're all roughly the same overall length. Roughly the same blade length as well. These will have just a little bit longer blade than the PM2 does, but not by much. And then one more, just because I have it here. This is the Benchmade bug out, full size bug out. As you can see, it's a little bit shorter overall. It's about a inch, 3/4 of an inch shorter overall than these knives. But overall, great knives. Would I recommend Ganzo? Heck yeah. For anybody looking for a cheap knife, they're maybe not a knife guy, don't want to spend a lot on knives, or is a gift idea. If you're looking for somebody, your dad, your brother, brother-in-law, heck, your mom or your sister, if they carry one, these would make a great gift knife. I know if someone were to have given me this as a gift, especially with the expectations I had of a $20 knife going in, I would have been thrilled with this knife. This has been a great knife. But anyway, I'm coming up on 30 minutes. I'm gonna wrap this video up, guys. Remember, if you like what you see, you want to see some more, subscribe, like, hit that notification button. Again, I try to post at least 1 or 2 videos a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, just depends on my time, because of course I work a full-time job on top of this. Until next time, guys, I hope y'all are good. If you have any questions on these or any other knife, I may be able to help you out. Shoot me a message, something like that. Anyway, I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, y'all take it easy.